Dima, are we all set with the stream?
Perfect.
You get the other slide up?
Sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so I guess we can start. So, Michael, what were your impressions rewatching this? I guess when was the last time that you actually watched this episode?
Oh, God, like a few years ago, yeah. A couple years ago. That young man, I don't know who that is. That was before he went through COVID. That was pre-COVID, Michael, man. Oh, my God. I miss him. No, I mean, so what I do is I just take some notes real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
You know, they're all talking about survival mode, right? And we're in Ukraine, so we kind of maybe relate to that. They had maybe 60 years of survival and perhaps like 10 really hardcore years, right? After bankruptcy and that. But I mean, it's just, I just thought like, you know, around the world, less now, unfortunately, but everybody's talking about the people of Ukraine, the resilience, you know, all this narrative, which is absolutely, completely true, of course. But there, it's like the people of Detroit. Like that phrase, like it means something, right? They are the people of Detroit. They identify as that. And we filmed some other people that didn't make the edit, you know, and it's all the same. It's just like everybody just doing something. Like that guy, John George, you know, I have a moral obligation as a father, blah, 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 you know, just to help my fellow citizens, right? So we really saw in Ukraine from the beginning of the full invasion, you know, just people helping each other. You know, me getting volunteers for my project, you know, it's insane how intuitive that is. So, you know, the people of Ukraine, the people of Detroit, for me, that really resonated after 2 years of being here, right? I just forgot that I designed all those bike lanes for the city. I totally forgot. Like, you know, there's all these, yeah, and that was one of the really cool job for when I had this company. You know, they said, yeah, let's do it. Let's reinvent ourselves. This is our time. You know, bankruptcy, and we can reinvent everything. So, you know, let's make this the greatest bicycle city in America. So there was this real narrative up from that guy, Maurice Cox. He was the guy who hired us for that. So that whole resilience thing really resonated with me after being here so long. There's like simple things like in the Windsor part, there's a row of buildings, and one of the buildings it fell down, right? And they here, like I live in Podil, and so there's like all these walls everywhere, right? There's a building in there that's falling down, or there's nothing in that lot, and there's walls, right? Some developer put up walls. In Windsor, they went, let's take down the walls because that's a shortcut between streets, like creating new roads, creating new access to the city, right? I thought that's one thing, a very incredibly simple thing, but something I experienced here in Kyiv, where you know, why can't I walk that way? Oh, because there's a wall. And why is there a wall? There's no reason for the wall. Some developer is waiting for the building to fall down so he can say, oh, I can't renovate it. You know, I have to tear it down, right? One of the people in Windsor said, you know, we're making tacos and selling tequila. You know, we're doing things that have never been done before. And my experience working here for 2 years, doing the projects that I'm doing, is the same. Like, you know, I'm importing stuff to this country, like the first Nordic therapy garden to heal mental trauma and PTSD. Never been done before. You know, we're building right now in Podil the first community garden. We saw community gardens twice in this episode. We're building one in Podil, like just with volunteers, like with tolokas every weekend. Never been done before. Like, so this is the kind of, the mayor of Mykolaiv, I met him a couple of years ago, and he asked me to design Mykolaiv to be the Copenhagen of Ukraine. This is like whining in my ear. Should I move it a bit? Can I move it, Dima? I can hear like some feedback, no? Okay. And he said, this is my time. Half my population's gone. And when they come back, I want to have a nicer city for them to come back to, right? And Mykolaiv is Denmark's city, so we're taking care of all of those problems. So it's like, it was super cool. But yeah, the resilience really resonated. And so 24 episodes. On average, I interview 10 people or projects and people in each episode. So that's like, you know, we're talking like 240, 250 people. And Mama Monica, the lady with the water, like, what an amazing human. Like, we were filming on the street, and you heard the way she's speaking, right? She's just going boom, right?
Yeah.
And then she rounded up with, like, you know, the belovedness of the people of Detroit. And like, I cried, which I'm about to again. Cause
this is a safe space.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But like, it's amazing. And the funny thing was, like, I get super emotional, but my film crew, there's like my friends and the cameraman, like we said, and the director said, and we're good. And then the cameraman turned away, and I'm going, Zach, are you fucking crying? And we all had to hug Mama Monica, right? Like, and that, like, for me, John George tearing down the houses with Blight Busters and Mama Monica, like, they embody the people of Detroit, the And it's everybody. It's Eric at the beginning, you know, the guy with the suit, you know. It's all of them. But those, you know, it's just like, just do it. Let's just fix it. And for me, 2 years in Ukraine, that's the vibe, you know. If I say I want to make a therapy garden out by Pavlova Hospital with no money, and we're just going to do this to heal mental health, you know, everybody's going, cool, you know. And I got 500 people on the first Toloka, the first volunteer weekend, you know, and I'm, you know, insane, right? So I always say, like, fight like Ukrainians, but also, man, volunteer like Ukrainians is really something I've learned here. So, and that's what you see in Detroit as well.
Yeah.
So I like, it's the situation that Ukraine is in, Ukrainian cities, and what Detroit is going through is kind of very, very much more similar than many of the other episodes. But even, like I said before we started, like, you know, Taipei. What can Kyiv learn from Taipei? Oh my God, there's so many things, right? But this is really just the vibe deep inside, like, we're just rebuilding, you know, despite all the shit we're going through, and we're just doing it. And the people of Ukraine, the people of Detroit. So yeah.
So are you still in touch with anybody that you interviewed for this episode?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. There's a guy who didn't make the cut. He's like another. I'm not going to go into in America House all the racial issues in your country.
I mean,
you know,
feel free.
No, but you know, it's a longer discussion, dude. But I mean, but the great thing I really felt in Detroit was, like, you know, yeah, they're like 90% not white, right, and 85% black, right. But then you got John George. Like, look, he's I don't know what he is. He's just a dude. He's a Detroiter helping Detroiters. And then this other guy who didn't make the cut. He's just hilarious, this guy. He's also a white dude with an Italian last name. And he, like, there's all these abandoned lots. Like, you know, you saw the scale of just the abandonedness, right? You know, all the houses that are abandoned. Every week, even as we're sitting here, they bulldoze 200 abandoned houses in Detroit. It's just that's a great business to get into, bulldozing in Detroit if you want to make some money. Man, I mean, it's never ending. But then there's empty lots in a neighborhood. There's still people living there, but the city didn't have any money to mow the grass. So you have like a huge grassy area. There used to be a football field, American football playgrounds. And this dude, he got a bunch of dudes, and he was so funny. He said, like, I'm a white dude, and me and my friends, we like to drink beer and mow lawns. So he got his friends to come with, like, the big American style,
the ride-on
ones, and they just roll up, like, with trucks with these things, and they just mow, like, a huge area. And he's really funny. We just drink beer and mow lawns, right? That's the white guy in America. And then as soon as the lawn is mowed, people and kids come out from the homes around it, mostly like African Americans. They go, "Oh my God, there's the playground," and then they start playing, and they just rotate around the city mowing lawns every weekend. That kind of, like, they're just Detroiters.
Yeah.
They're Americans, sure, but they're Detroiters. They're struggling with this stuff for so long. It doesn't matter if you're John George, white dude, or the guy with the community garden for black Detroiters. It's really kind of cool. I really felt like, knowing your country very well, but not being from there, it's just like, wow, there's none of that stuff going on there. It's just literally we're from Detroit, right? The D-town, boom, and that's the vibe.
No, yeah, it's a really special identity, and I guess it struck me during the episode that there was a really strong identity, not just within the city itself, but also neighborhood to neighborhood. And I was curious if you found that during your work in Kyiv as well, if, like, people from Kyiv have a strong identity with their neighborhood in addition to this, overarching identity of being, from Kyiv and being Ukrainian. Like, is there an identity with Podil, Pechersk, Obolon, Troyeshina, that sort of thing?
I'm really the wrong guy to ask, because I live in Podil, and I'm uptown today. Like, I never leave Podil.
Welcome.
No, but, like, when I started living in Podil like 2 years ago, I had a meeting with a friend, and he says, "Oh, dude, I'm late. I got to leave Podil, but I'll be back in Podil later." And I'm going, "Why are you saying, like, you're leaving? You don't say that in other cities. I'm leaving Brooklyn. I will be back in Brooklyn later." And he's going, never thought about that. But then I've heard that from other people in Podil. It's like, it's a real. So I live in Podil because, like, it's like a European vibe, and I'm from Europe. And the rest of Kyiv is like, some kind of weird kind of, Dallas in the 1950s. It's like a time machine, and as an urban planner. So Podil for me is like, but it's super strong vibe there. You don't mess with the people of Podil either, right? It's like kind of a mini Detroit in a way. And I'm sure generally there is a resilience, but that's my reference is Podil. And you guys are probably other neighborhoods. You can maybe identify with that or not, but yeah, you don't mess with things in Detroit. In Podil.
Did you take public transit to get here tonight?
We were late. We were at our office, and there's tram 18. 35 minutes, but Charlie said, be here at 6. American security and everything. And I'm going, oh my God. So we grabbed the taxi, to be honest. Yeah.
The taxi,
but
okay.
the tram 18, I hate your question, Charlie. Because I'm like, oh my God, we'll take the metro, right? And then I go, oh my, the tram's super convenient. And I love trams and stuff. But yeah, today we're a bit late and I was scared of you.
Well, no, I mean, listen, fair enough. My audience agrees with that take. But no, the reason I asked was I've tried to, I hang out in Podil quite regularly, right? And I come from work oftentimes. But it's always more convenient to take a taxi, take any other mode of transportation, because you have to go, closest metro stop is 20 minutes away. You can walk to Lukyanivska. Then you have to go all the way into the city and change metro lines in order to get to Podil, when geographically it's actually quite close.
Yeah, it's actually like 35-minute walk home.
Yeah.
Like for me, and that's like I walk all over. I try not to take taxis if I can take public transport.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and walking around is great. Walking down to Podil is easier than walking up. But
always.
But it's great. But I mean that. Okay, comes some criticism of Kyiv. Like since independence, you had 350 kilometers of tramways, and now you have about 150. And the metro is overcrowded. And I mean, I don't think I've ever sat down on a metro because there's never any seats. So this is an under-prioritization of public transport. And what happens when you can't get around and get to work since independence? Oh, I got to buy a car, right? And maybe you don't even want to buy a car, but you have to buy a car because that's the standard. Yeah. So that sucks, basically. Yeah. In Detroit, their opportunity was, everybody's gone. So that rich white dude built a tram downtown. We're building bike lanes. There's an opportunity for that. But in other cities, I don't sympathize. Sorry if you're a motorist, but I don't sympathize a lot with motorists. But in this city, there's literally no other options in many cases, right? So you can't really sort of criticize that. The city needs to build more metro. They need to build more trams. They're planning a new metro line, which is not happening. But there's like pillars in the water down in Podil where they're planning it, and then there's issues, right? But I mean, the tramways are the no-brainer here. This is one of the great tram cities of the world, and you can put in an effective modern tramway like Lviv has, or even some other Ukrainian cities. They have much more modern trams, and for the 10th of the price of a metro, and for the 10th of the price of putting in a new highway, it's a no-brainer. It's not like moving people around a city. We've done that for 150 years very well, and it's kind of easy to go back to that.
Yeah. And so what do you think Kyiv does well, right? Because there's all these, of course, on your Instagram page, you have these reels where you're going around different parts of the city where there's this like very unfriendly urban architecture, right? You've got bike lanes where there are cars parked in there, et cetera. And so the question is, what are some examples of things that Kyiv actually does well in terms of urban architecture?
Next question.
All right, so then what about what it does poorly? Let's hear
You said we only had an hour, dude. No, it's for me, like, as an urban planner, like, it really is, like, I joked about it, Dallas in the 50s. It really is a time machine. If you're an urban planner at my age, I didn't live in the 50s, and I'm going, wow, this city is still making all the mistakes that we made in Europe, that America made, North America made, Australia made in the 1950s and 60s, believing that the car is the only transportation for the future. And we're now fixing this stuff in Europe, and in less so in North America, but we're fixing it. Like cities all over Europe, like Paris is removing 65,000 car parking spots. Oslo made the city center car free, right? You can't drive into the city center. There's all of these examples because we're desperately trying to fix these mistakes. So Kyiv is really interesting as an urban planner in a not a very positive way, that this is what we did in the 50s that screwed everything up, right? And you have, I live in Podil, so like not many people, the car ownership is low in Podil, and yet I'm on this street where there's just insane rush hour every day, and it's not people going to or from Podil, they're going through, right? It's like me coming home to your house with muddy boots and just marching through your house and leaving. And
that's a no-no.
Yeah, and you got to clean up my mess. It's like, so, like, and parking on sidewalks, my God, there's too many cars, so therefore they think they need to park somewhere, and they're desperate to park because they have a thing to do. Fine. Like, again, a tiny bit of sympathy, but still, like, Paris got, eliminated this problem by putting in bollards, like the metal posts everywhere in the 1980s and 90s. Car ownership dropped by 20% after they started protecting the sidewalks, from automobiles. So, yeah, there's like, for me, that's the lack of public transport focus, investment in public transport, the the lack of respect for public space, where you can park on a sidewalk, which is for pedestrians, like kind of a pretty basic concept since sidewalks were invented.
It's in the name.
Yeah, so it's a Wild West, man. I see, really kind of struggling cities around the world. You're in, Mexico City, you're in Bangkok and stuff, and I'm going, wow, there's the vibe here in Kyiv, right? Which it should not be. This is, Warsaw, same journey as Ukraine, just, started earlier. Yeah. It's not a great city, but man, they really are focusing a lot on things, right? They're trying to fix. Many Eastern European cities with the same history as Kyiv are fixing desperately, right? And that has not come here yet. Just me introducing the basic concept of a community garden. They're everywhere in the world. They have them in Bulgaria, Romania. Krakow has a public community garden. And so, with this is the NGO we've started recently, DIY Ukraine. We're literally building one in Podil, and one of the first ones in Ukraine. So there's a lot of real focus, on fast growth after independence.
Yeah.
A lot of it is really inspired by not Europe, but the United States, right? So you guys want to get into Europe, and I want you members as soon as possible, NATO and everything, but culturally and urbanism-wise, maybe just look across a border instead of looking across an ocean for good, inspiration. You can look at Copenhagen. Oh yeah, wow, long time, long journey, amazing city. But then you can look at Krakow. You can look at what they're doing in Warsaw, in Prague, and everything. So you gotta. There's new priorities that are needed here.
Yeah, it's interesting. So when I was preparing for this program and for this talk, I watched your episode.
You prepared?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
dude,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. Don't tell my boss. But I watched your episode about Copenhagen, right? Which is your hometown. That's your native city, and it is one of the prime examples of a livable city. But at the same time, you mention during the episode that costs have kind of skyrocketed, right? Housing costs are expensive in the center of the city. So how can you improve the quality of life in a city, right? Make it livable in this way, while trying to avoid these pitfalls of intense gentrification and forcing people to move out as the center becomes more desirable, just keeping it affordable and avoiding some of the pitfalls of gentrification.
Yeah, a lot of that is policy,
yeah,
which in the current political climate in the city is perhaps optimistic to think that anything will change.
Yeah.
That's the politest way I've ever said that in 2 years here. And no, literally that's policy, man. And the political system here, I'm not an optimist, but in the Windsor segment of this episode, that the young women, they have this NGO called Little Things Matter, and that is really what we're doing with DIY Ukraine. It's change comes neighborhood by neighborhood, street by street, right? That's if you can improve the daily life for people on one street, you've really done a cool thing, and that inspires them to think ooh, what else can we do? What other changes might we have? I think one of the interesting things with the Ukrainian context is you still have 6 million people out of the country, mostly women and children. And when they start coming back, they're going to go, yeah, so I was in Copenhagen, Barcelona, what the actual, why is, I have expectations. Why can't my city be like that city, right? It's a simple thought from somebody who is not an urbanist. It's that was really cool, and this is not as cool. And so what can, and you have this, when people start returning, I think you have this really active, positive force for good of people with higher expectations, right? And not all the mayors in Ukrainian cities are like the guy in Mykolaiv. He's yeah, let's make this place better. So when they come back, we can say, yo, playgrounds, bike lanes, yeah, it's an even better place than when you left. But that's an interesting local, Ukrainian context is that.
Yeah.
And also, all the brave people fighting on the front lines, when they come home, if they've lost a leg, what kind of city are they coming home to? My God, it's hard for me to walk around, let alone amputees, right? And so you have these people who don't really maybe need to have another battle when they get home, trying to walk down to the supermarket, Maybe we should start thinking about how to make a better city for Babusia, right? And for the veterans. amputees or not, right? Mentally challenged, whatever. And for the families who live here and for the families who are coming home. Like, it's like, if there's like reasons to make a city better, Kyiv or any Ukrainian city, holy shit, you have a long list. You have the longest list probably of any city, in Europe right now. All of these reasons to do the right thing and copy paste from other cities that have done the right thing. And it's all there. It's all open source. You just say, yeah, what are they doing in Copenhagen? Cool. Barcelona, awesome. Boom, boom, boom. It's free. All the ideas. You don't have to think about it. You just copy paste it, man. And your list of reasons for doing it, man, is epic long. And that's why we're doing what we're trying to do, with all of these projects.
Yeah. All right, so I'm curious, right, because you've mentioned, the mayor of Mykolaiv asking, it's a partner city for the Danish government. He asked you to sort of redesign the city. What was your idea, your plan for Mykolaiv?
Well, I went there, I have this NGO where I bring bikes to Ukraine, used bikes from Europe, and I deliver them to Ukrainian NGOs, and these used bikes, unwanted, unloved bikes in Europe, they deliver humanitarian aid to the most vulnerable citizens in the deoccupied areas, right? So I was there with that bike thing, and he's going, I'm interviewing for my YouTube channel, and he's going, hey, and thank you for your time. Like, shells were falling. This was Russia was 10 kilometers away. And I'm going, sensitive to your time, thanks for, and he's going, but you design cities for bikes. I'm going, yeah, dude, that's not why I'm here. And he says, but can you, and then we had this conversation. Yeah. And I'm going, oh my God, okay, fine. So me and my team spent 5 months doing this for him. We're still trying to figure out how to get Denmark to pay for it. But so if you're watching, Ambassador, no, but Denmark's throwing out an amazing amount of money at Mykolaiv and Ukraine also. I think we're number 3 in the world for supporting Ukraine. I'm super proud about that. But it was pretty easy. I've worked in other Eastern European countries, so the typology of the streets, it wasn't hard for us to do. Yeah. It's literally just bike lanes based on best practice. And the cool thing about it was, I've done this around the world. So I'm asked, we do surveys of the population. So we might do bike lanes. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And it's usually 50-50. I don't want bike lanes, or I want bike lanes. In Mykolaiv, it was 92.6% of everybody we asked going, oh God, yeah. Totally, we want that. And why is the city not doing that? That was really amazing. So, man, low-hanging fruit. Yeah. And if we do that in Mykolaiv, man, as soon as you do it in one city, everybody wants one. I built this huge therapy garden to treat mental trauma and PTSD by Pavlova Hospital, like I mentioned. Nordic concept that we imported here. Now all these other cities are calling, say, oh, that's amazing, we need that. So you do it one place in Ukraine, and then everybody wants a piece of it. They want their own. So you got to start the ball rolling. So it was pretty easy, without getting into details, wide Soviet streets, lots of room. You take away a car lane, you put in a bus lane, you put in a bike lane. You got all the space in the world in most cities. Interesting.
All right, so while we're talking, I have a few follow-up questions, but while we're talking about cycling, I know that, of course, this is a big part of your life and also a part of your work. Do you cycle in Kyiv?
Yeah, no. Yeah, we have bikes. We have bikes in Podil, and we ride around Podil. But it's, I can literally, because of my work. I can ride in any city in the world. Some of the worst cities to ride bikes in. I just don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. It's just I have a whole photo series of people cycling in Copenhagen who are yawning, right? They're just going home from work and they're riding a bike. And they're yawning as they ride a bike, right? You don't yawn on a bike in Kyiv, right? You're going, it's a fucking video game, right? And you got one life. And so I don't need to be that guy. I know people who do, and that's great. But so we ride our bikes around, sure. But generally, no. Oh, I can't be bothered anymore. I've done this for 20 years. I can't. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. I don't need to be, I can talk about it. I got this book, the pink one is How to Design a City for Bikes. It came out in 2022 in Ukrainian. Only 150 titles were published in the first year of the full invasion, and I was so happy that this was one of them. But it's all in the book, right? I do have bikes. Okay, all right. But it's a dangerous city for biking, right? Between the... Statistically, probably not so much. I've looked at it a little bit. It's the same as a lot of other cities that don't have bike lanes. It's kind of like a plateau kind of statistic, but it's just not enjoyable. Yeah. I don't need to go for a bike ride. In Copenhagen, we don't go for bike rides. We go to the school, to the cafe, to the bar, to the supermarket, to work. It's a practical, logistical transport form where 60% of the population of my city ride bikes, right? My doctor, my lawyer, my member of parliament, my mayor, all of my ex-wives, my kids, they all ride bikes. And so for there, it's just easy way to get around. Yeah. And sure, it's faster for me in Podil to get around, totally. But I don't want to have to, I just want to yawn. I don't want to have to do the whole scanning thing with, well, Jana got hit by a guy getting out of the car.
Oh my God.
They call it doored in America. Yeah, just like last week. And oh my God, I saw everything in slow motion behind her. But like, and she's fine. But like, it's still like, oh my God, yeah, I don't need that stress, dude.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. All right, and so I wanted to check back to the therapy garden, right? I saw this all over your Instagram. I think the concept is really cool. But could you briefly explain, like, what's the philosophy behind this this Nordic style therapy garden, and why did you decide to implement that here?
So therapeutic gardens have been around for a very long time. The Romans wrote about, like, if you're building a house, remember the garden. It has therapeutic quality. So like for 2,000 years, we've known that gardens are pretty cool. We know scientifically now that they can take the stress off you, like take the edge off of your stress.
Yeah.
The Japanese have the concept called forest bathing. Just go into the forest and bathe in the forest. So it's ancient stuff, right? And so in Denmark, 15, 20 years ago, some researchers said, how do we go to the next level, right? If nature can do this pretty amazing thing, how can we figure out what nature can do to the next level? So huge research project, spending money that you don't need to spend here because we spent it. You know what I mean? Like, it's established science now. Where they've designed the way we designed this one, and like a therapy garden, it can literally heal mental trauma and PTSD. It's not just like you'll feel nicer in nature, which you will. It will heal it if we design correctly. So if there's a country in Europe that needs a little bit of healing of mental trauma and PTSD, which is a public health crisis now, it's only going to get worse. Domestic abuse rates are going through the roof. Soldiers coming home, messed up and stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to build this beautiful space, which I did with 1,000 volunteers. Again, volunteer like Ukrainians, and right next to a psychiatric hospital. It's functioning as a facility. Veterans who are staying at the hospital are using it, but it's also like a showcase. So I want everybody to come and look at it and go home and make more in Cherkasy, in Rivne, all over the place, right? Yeah. It's just like, this exists, this science, this research, and we paid for it. Like, we did all the hard work. You just copy paste this, man, and this country needs it so bad. You got your first lady with her, how are you doing campaign. I'm not making fun of it. Maybe it sounded like I was, but it's a campaign. This is also a physical space that heals people, right? And meeting the veterans that use it every day, like, it kills me. It's just so amazing to see how super tough dudes who are in Avdiivka, and they're in the hospital now trying to deal with their mental trauma. They're going, this is amazing, man. Thank you so much. Like, it never gets old to meet these people. So simple concept, really. Yeah. It's small things matter. It's just a garden. It's a forest with some minor design interventions, and yet we can prove that it will help, right? Yeah. And so, more of that all over Ukraine. No, that's really remarkable. So I guess next question would be, what challenges did you sort of face while you were in the process of building it, and how has it been since you finished? I know I think on your Instagram you had some issues with some neighbors of yours, right? So what sort of challenges did you face? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Biggest challenge, bureaucracy. Oh my God. When you come from Denmark and you come to Ukrainian bureaucracy, you're going, oh my God, like, it's just mind-blowing. So much bureaucracy involved, but we've been given so much goodwill. Like the city the department that we're dealing with, they're like, okay, for this paperwork, this will take normally 2 years. Maybe we can do it in a year, but you just got the green light, right? There was like a meeting where all these different departments, I don't even know how many departments there were, like, I've never seen so many different departments at a meeting in any other city I've worked in. And they're going, so the rules for this can be interpreted in different ways. Do we all agree? And everybody's going, yep. And the head of the head guy was going, so should we all interpret it in the same way so that Michael can start work? And everybody went, yes. And they said, there's no paperwork, like right now. We'll give you papers later, but you have the green light, right? And if anybody gives you hassle, you refer them to our department. So a lot of goodwill, but the bureaucracy is off the charts, yeah. Oh, so the neighbors, yeah. I don't, you got your whole, about the Lavra Russian Orthodox monastery, right? That was a big one. But there's this little compound where a whole bunch of Russian Orthodox priests live, and their entourage, these old ladies who scream at you, like, literally, we have them on video, like, and so they're at the compound. They had a pathway through the land that I was building on, and I said, hey, you guys, sorry, but now we're doing this thing. You guys got another little route around, like, so, we're not shutting off access, because there's a Russian Orthodox church on the hospital property near St. Cyril's church, right? So all these dudes in their black, I'm not a religious guy, but the the priest dudes, they never even talked to us. Like, we didn't even exist. The ladies did all the hard work. And we got one screaming at us, screaming at like 50 volunteers going, Moscow patriarchy's the best. Like it's a football team, right? Go Tigers. No, go Knicks. No, we're going, oh, creepy people, man. And they just kept marching through. They just refused to respect the fact that this is now a mental health facility because the country they support has been doing some bad things to this country. So, and we built a fence. And they found a way around the fence. So we just dug up the earth. Like we created like a moon landscape. And now we nudged them away. It was really kind of very comical for us, but also super irritating, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So especially when you're dealing with the Moscow patriarchy, it's like a Ukrainian story, right? Mental health facility, and who's your antagonist? It's the Moscow patriarchy. Yeah. So you can't get much more modern Ukrainian context than that, right? So
yeah, honestly, bureaucracy, Moscow patriarchy, that is as Ukrainian.
Oh
as
yeah, no, yeah. We hit the maximum Ukrainian experience with that. Yeah.
How is it? So you've been here for like two years, something like that.
Yeah, June 22. Yeah.
How have you found it adapting to life in Ukraine? I'm not sure where you were living before, but how have you found it adapting to life here?
We eat the same food. You do different things with the food we all eat. We eat in Denmark. We eat beets. We have pork. We have potatoes. Like, it's kind of fun to see. Like, it's literally the same ingredients, and you make soup. You make borscht. Well, amazing. Why did we never make soup? And then I really miss the bread. I miss rye bread, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I have my son's coming to visit next month, and I'm going, bring bread. The other bread's great, right? But it's just like the things you miss from home.
Of course,
so, no, like there's interesting. I've worked all over Eastern Europe as well, and you guys are just a little bit more like different than Poland, Bulgaria, and stuff. You're still, no offense, but like still a little bit more post-Soviet, right, with your bureaucracy and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, and I used to live in the Soviet Union also way back in the day. So it's kind of like, oh, I came back. No, but it's there's some. Culturally, yeah, we're all Europeans, right? But then the bureaucracy, like we have this NGO. I had to get one of these stamps. Where you literally, like I've asked all my friends on Facebook in Denmark, you guys remember having these stamps, and people my age are going, wow, no. That's like 18th century shit right there, man. So like, yeah, there's like this whole thing, the whole bureaucracy vibe. Communication-wise, I think it's a little bit tricky sometimes, where you kind of expect maybe a more general Eastern Northern European way of communicating, and then you get ghosted by people when you're waiting for a response. Yeah. There's like details in culture, right? But yeah, it's not a hard transition from Scandinavia to Ukraine, because like the food, basically, you don't want weird food. You might move to Thailand and there's amazing food, and you gotta learn the names of stuff. Here it's just beets, pork, potatoes, and we're home, right?
Yeah. Have you learned Ukrainian? Are you learning? I'm
learning a lot. I understand a lot more because I usually speak English all day, right?
Right.
So I got to go live in a village in the Carpathian Mountains with 50 babusias who don't speak English, and it'll be 10 minutes and I'll be speaking Ukrainian. But it's also a fun thing if I'm in municipal meetings. We were in this meeting today about this thing, and they think, oh, foreigner, fine. So they're just talking amongst themselves. I'm going, I understand what you're saying. Like it's like my little superpower. They don't know how much Ukrainian I actually understand. So and when you're negotiating with bureaucracy and stuff, it's actually a really cool superpower to have. Yeah. No, I need to practice more in daily life, but it's not that bad.
It's hard. It's not that easy. And like you said, when you are using English every day in your everyday life, at least that's been my experience. It's hard to find those opportunities to practice and to sort of improve.
Oh, sure. Embassy people, like I know the Danish embassy very well. Yeah, of course, they're totally invested here. But yeah, they just speak Danish and English all day long, right? And they don't have an opportunity in their super busy embassy life to, do anything apart from Duolingo or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, no disrespect. It's just like, yeah, of course, it's busy, man.
Yeah.
And then my network of urban planners and, activists and stuff, everybody speaks English, so it makes it tricky, So you need to just throw yourself into somewhere where nobody speaks your language, and then, literally that works.
Yeah.
You're home.
No, 100%. All right, I have one more question for you, then I want to open it up to the audience, and I actually wanted to bring it to your book that you published, right? 45 Ideas for Ukrainian Cities. So I read part of it, right? My Ukrainian's rusty. I'm working on it, but there was an interesting point in the introduction where you started talking about the Marshall Plan, and specifically how the Marshall Plan applied to Hanover, Germany, if I'm not mistaken, right? Where the city was rebuilt, but it was rebuilt with American engineers. American engineers rebuilt it, and they rebuilt it into being a very car-centric city. And so my broad question is how, if we're looking towards post-war reconstruction in Ukraine, and the money that will probably be flowing in as far as reconstruction is concerned, how can Ukraine avoid that sort of pitfall?
Yeah, it's tricky. Like that's the book on the left there, right? It's available only in Ukrainian, but like I don't make any money of these books, by the way. Just like I just want people to read them because they're important. But like that January last year, I texted my Ukrainian publisher, and I'm going, dude, because I'd read some article about like Marshall Plan for Ukraine, and I'm going, dude, I'm worried, man. I said, it's going to be the Marshall Plan after the Second World War. Yeah, it rebuilt European cities. American money, American profit also, but it was rebuilt in the current model of cities, so very car-centric. So Hanover, but also cities in France, like incredibly car-centric. And now they're trying to fix that, like I said before. But I said, man, like the Marshall Plan that's coming now in a more capitalistic corporate world, it's going to be off the charts. And of course, Marshall Plan will not include bike parking outside a supermarket. It's going to be massive infrastructure projects to help the country, they think, but also for maximum profit, right? So we got to get a book out with all the things we know to be right and true about urbanism, all the things that are in place around the world, no crazy new ideas. And, I can get a whole bunch of people, 31 other experts and me, we wrote this book together with these 45 ideas. Everything from energy transition to, bike parking, but also greening the city, you name it. All the things that a city needs. And he just wrote back, I'll never forget it. He says, this will be the first book about post-war reconstruction in Europe in the 21st century. And I went, oh my God, say that again, that's so sexy, oh my God. And I said, we got to do the book. And so we hammered this book. His publishing colleagues are going, how did you do that so fast? It was like an assembly line. Articles coming in my email, boom, 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 off to the translator, into the design. And I'm really proud of that book, and it's still relevant. So there's other things that will happen. There's other things that will be needed that are not in the book, like that are larger scale. Yeah. But we got to remember that you need a nice sidewalk and a tree outside your home, and a place for your kids to play, and a better way to get energy than the existing grid. You know what I mean? Like there's just simple human ideas for cities, and it's all in that book. So Christmas is coming, so get some copies.
Yeah, guys, you can buy the book wherever books are sold in the city. If you want to take a look, my copy is back there. You can pass that around. If you just want to take a look, there's some great illustrations and images in there as well. So at this point, we're going to open up we've got about 20 minutes, let's say. So we want to open up these two. Yeah,
I'm going to just have a bathroom break.
Oh, yeah, right? Cool. All right.
Anybody want to come? Oh, no, that's kind of creepy. Sorry. Yeah. I'll be right back in a flash.
Awesome.
Hang on a sec.
Get your mic, please.
Yeah.